Okay, so let's turn to Proverbs 28 and 13. This has kind of been the key verse for this series, and let's just look at that real quick. It says, "He who conceals his sin does not prosper, but whoever confesses and renounces them finds mercy." And I've shared with you guys about the site that the church had in Oklahoma had put up called mysecret.tv. And what they did is, this is just a site where anyone could go and you could anonymously just confess some of your struggles. And there are just hundreds and hundreds of ones on there. And what's really interesting is if you look at some of those, they'll start off kind of like this. I've never told anyone this, but, or I never thought I would ever be sharing about this issue, but, and the reason why that is because people are ashamed of some of the things that they've done. And they're so ashamed that they simply could never imagine getting those things out in the open because they're so embarrassed by them. And they're just so, they're so full of shame. So that's what we're going to talk about on the last installment of this series, is the issue of shame. And I just want to read you a definition of this, of what this is. It says, "Shame is a painful feeling of humiliation or distress caused by the consciousness of wrong or foolish behavior." And then another definition says it's a loss of respect or esteem, dishonor. A painful feeling of humiliation and distress. Well, every life group that I've ever been in, there's always a question that comes up sometime during the thing, kind of as an icebreaker question. It always goes something like, what's your most embarrassing moment? And if you've ever been in a life group with me, I always pretty much share the same one. And I maybe even shared it to some of you, but I want to share it again this morning. And because I was thinking about humiliation and distress. And this was something that happened to me several years ago. I was in college, and I was going to meet my then fiancée, now wife, at the library. And I was walking in there, and I guess I was just a little bit out of touch with what was going on. And there was these two sets of double doors, all glass, going into the entry of the library. And my wife was in there waiting for me, and there was probably about 100 or so people that were in the lobby of this library. And I had my backpack on, and I walked through the first set of double doors, and for some reason I just had a lapse of judgment, and I just thought, oh, the door's already open for me. And I walked at full speed into just this plate glass, and just boom, and just ran smack into it, and just kind of fell back, kind of dazed like this. And I thought, oh my gosh, I just walked into some glass. Now it didn't break, but it kind of had this wah, 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 reverberation that just echoed throughout the whole of that area, and every face in that lobby just went like that. Humiliation, distress, consciousness of wrong or foolish behavior. And I am telling you, when I did that, for a brief moment I thought, this little thing in my head goes, Andrew, run. I mean, I really thought about just turning and just taking off the other way and just hope nobody saw me. And I thought, no, it's too late. They've heard it, they've seen me, I gotta face it. So I just kind of walked in, kind of like this, you know, and just kind of tried to hold my head up as high as I could. I was still a little bit with the ringing in my ears, and I talked to Karen later, and she said, and I was like, so did you hear it? She's like, yes, everybody heard it. And she said, I was hoping you weren't going to walk over to me. But I did. I walked right to her and sat down, and then we went on our merry way. Shame, embarrassment. Now, why was it that for just a moment, for just a split second, I had the thought, run away, hide, get out of there? The reason was because I was ashamed and I was embarrassed. Now that's kind of a funny story, but many of you have things that are very serious that you are embarrassed about, or mistakes that you have made, and you literally think, I have done so well to hide those things. I will run away, I will hide them, I do not want anyone to hear, I do not even want God to know, or anyone to think that. Why is that? It's because you have shame. You're ashamed of that. Last week we talked about pornography, and we just kind of went there with it. We went there. And that's something that's, people don't just walk up to you and go, "Hi, my name is Andrew, I look at pornography." They just don't do that. They hide it. It's something that's shameful. People don't just walk up and say, "Hello, my name is Andrew, I am a perpetual liar." They don't do that. My life is a lie, everything I say is not true. I'm financially unstable. They don't do that, okay? They hide those things. Why? Because of shame. Addictions, we talked about addictions a couple weeks ago. Some people have some things that, you look like you have it sewed together with everybody else, with everybody. And people look at you and they think, "Oh, yes, homecoming queen of the year. That's her picture." But yet, homecoming queen of the year is like shame, addiction, secrets, embarrassment. Some of you have what I would call parental shame. Maybe you have made a mistake somewhere along the line as a parent, and you just think, "My kids are the way they are because of me, because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I blew it, I know it," and you have shame, and it's something that's a hidden place. I was looking at a testimony of one of the people that shared on this website, and they actually came out and they had a little video that you could watch. It was a young woman who had an abortion, and she knew whenever she had it that it was wrong to do. And then a couple years later, she came to Christ, and then she really realized it was wrong. And she thought, "How could God possibly forgive me? How could anyone ever love me because of the mistake that I made?" It was something that was so hurtful and shameful and embarrassing. And I want to go back to this scripture here. Shame makes you hide. It makes you isolate. It makes you cover. It makes you bury. And the proverb says, "He who conceals, hides, buries, his sin does not prosper. Whoever confesses and renounces them finds mercy." Here's the deal right here. Shame is Satan's tool to keep you away from God. Shame is a tool that is used by Satan to keep you away from God. Now let me explain that in a little bit greater detail from the Bible. Turn to the book of Genesis. I want to talk about the beginnings of shame and how this thing got rolling and why we're dealing with it. This is Genesis chapter 2. And so if maybe you've never been in church before, that's totally fine. But Genesis, first book of the Bible, chapter 2, this is right off the bat. This is from the very beginning of the deal right here. And we're already talking very deeply about this subject, okay? Genesis 2, verse 25. Of course, Adam and Eve, first man and woman on the planet, walking around as naked as jaybirds. And here's what was going on. The man and the wife were both naked. Now, I mean that literally, they were naked. And they felt no shame. Now, can anybody in this room possibly imagine walking around as naked as a jaybird, feeling no shame? I don't think anybody can possibly imagine that. I know I can't. In fact, has anybody in here ever had the underwear on the playground dream, maybe when you were a kid? Let me describe to you how that goes. Okay, so you're on the playground. It's your turn for kickball. The ball comes. You kick the ball. You start running to first base. And as you're running, you realize, just put my pants on. Has anybody ever had this dream? I've had this probably a dozen times. You're like, I forgot to dress myself. Don't say no. You're making me have shame. You're running to first base. You're in your underwear, and you start running. And what do? You go, ah! Why do you do that? Because you have shame. We're afraid. That's shame. Now, obviously, this is physical. Yes, they were naked, but this also stands for something even more important. Is spiritually they had absolutely no shame.